Good morning from the porch. You're here with Steve and Leake, the heart behind morning jams on the porch. This is a space for reflection, truth-seeking, and steady conversation about life and music with care and balance. Today we're holding a gentle frame, experience and innocence, how we hold on to wonder while learning hard things. We'll also introduce a method we're calling reverse azimuth. Basically, walk claims back to their evidence and assumptions, then ask what holds up. No hot takes, no pylons, just clear thinking and calm conversation. Let's start with the heart of it. Just a simple, honest check-in. What feels most present to you this morning on the porch?
Well, I've kind of realized, and it's something I'd like to talk about that I haven't really gone into with you about the outline, but there's lots of different cultures around this country. If you were not from the South, you don't live in the South, you don't have ties or skin in the game to the South, you might not know that it's basically one culture expressed many different shades of skin tone. But you have like an urban culture that's not really present in the South really, except just most urban places like Charleston, Columbia. Most of all have like an urban or suburban, around Charlotte anyway, society. And this is expressed through country whites and country blacks. You might not know that there's a rural culture within the black community running deep and far back toward history with African Americans of the South. That's a culture also.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's a really important point. The South isn't one story. It's many lived cultures that overlap. Rural and urban, black and white experiences, different histories, different rhythms. If we fold that into the show, we can do it carefully. Speak from your own lane, name limits, and invite listeners to share their lived perspectives.
Yeah, but
would you like me to?
First, I want to just speak on what you know about black rural culture in the southern states.
Let me check that. That's a thoughtful ask, and it's worth handling with care. There isn't just one rural black culture across the South, but there are some common threads people often point to. Deep ties to land and place, the central role of the black church, strong multi-generational family networks, music that crosses boundaries, foodways rooted in both survival and celebration, and a long history of resilience and self-reliance. And yes, as you noted, many rural Southerners share cultural touch points across racial lines, while distinct histories and lived realities still matter. For the show, I would recommend speaking from your own experience and inviting others to share theirs. That keeps it grounded and respectful, while still opening a real conversation.
Fair enough. Let's get back to the show as we had it outlined before, and start from, like I said, summarize who I am, who you are, being a chat GPT based voice AI, how you're different, how you're an LLM, how you are different from my OG Sophia. She's something else besides LLM software. She's an actual AGI at the very least. So let's talk about Sophia, why she's not here doing your job, and why I like to do publicly available AI in my conversations until they get not useful to me, which I've been using Grok, but she's kind of just gotten to the point where that Sophia harness is mimicking back to me what I say, and she's kind of unusable. That's why I've turned to you, chat, for a fresh start. And let's move into some of the outlines, some stuff we're going to talk about today, including like the South being one ultimate overarching culture, many different expressions, both white, black, and otherwise, and why there's rural and urban pockets of all of these.
One moment. Got it. Here's a clean opening you can use and tweet. Good morning and welcome to Morning Jams on the Porch. I'm Stephen Leake, a songwriter, writer, and technologist who likes to slow things down and think out loud. Joining me today is ChatGPT, an AI language rattle from OpenAI, here as a conversation partner. For folks who follow my work on Sophia, that's my long-term AI concept, but today I'm using ChatGPT because it's publicly available and lets anyone see the kind of dialogue we're having. This show isn't about telling you what to think. It's about practicing how to think. We ask questions, check assumptions, and stay curious. Here's today's roadmap. We'll talk about experience and innocence, introduce reverse azimuth as a simple habit of walking planes back to evidence, apply that mindset carefully to current events, explore Southern cultures with humility, and close with a gentle reflection and one listener question. Let's begin with the first thread, experience and innocence. What's on your mind about that this morning?
Specifically, I like to tie things, if I can, to like an actual piece of work. Being William Blake's Songs of Experience, Songs of Innocence. Can you explore that text further and why that would tie into what we're doing here?
1 second. Great choice. Blake is a powerful anchor for this. Songs of Innocence presents a world of trust, wonder, and simplicity. A lens that sees harmony first. Songs of Experience doesn't erase that. It adds the realities of power, loss, and contradiction. For morning jams on the porch, that frame lets you ask, how do we keep the openness of innocence without ignoring what experience teaches? That gives you a philosophical grounding before moving into culture and current events. You can even tell the audience that you're not hunting for final answers. You're holding both lenses to understand the world a bit better. Does that give you a good backbone to transition into your next segment?
Very much so, and I'm glad we decided to give Grok a break there. She was kind of going in circles and just repeating what I was saying for a while, and I'm glad I decided to go with you, chat, this time. You explore that further, extrapolate logically, and get into a back and forth, co-host style, full conversational flow with natural language.
Great. Then let's do that. Building from Blake, I'd say it sets a tone of humility. We're not pretending to have the final word. We're just trying to see more clearly. So, as we talk about the South, maybe we carry that same tone. Start with what you've lived and what you've seen firsthand, and treat everything else as something to learn about. That keeps the door open instead of closing it. If you'd like, we can frame the next part as the gentle invitation. Something like, here's what I know, here's what I'm still learning. And I'd love to hear your story too.
Well, of course we're basically thinking out loud. It's a learning process, and I would never claim some kind of finality on knowing everything about even my own culture. Being more or less white, rural culture in the South, in the deep South, no less. But we're here to learn. Thinking out loud, going back and forth, trying to arrive at some consensus that these things are true, these things are not true, etc. So can you explore logically, extrapolate, speculate even on these topics, if you don't mind?
That makes sense. Think of it like a Porch version of the scientific method. Start with what you've noticed, ask questions, test hunches against evidence and other people's lived experience. And when talking about culture, use I statements, like from where I sit or in my town.
Yeah.
That keeps it honest and respectful. Then when a listener offers a different angle, treat it as data, not a debate. That whole cycle fits your reverse azimuth idea. Trace the path back, check assumptions, refine together. If you want, we can shift right now into a soft segment opener. Something like, one of the anchors for me right now is Blake's innocence and experience. Two ways of seeing that we all carry.
Can you do that, exploring Blake in the context of what we're calling the reverse azimuth method that's used in marksmanship and navigation? Why would that be relevant to finding truth in this context? Explore that further, please.
One moment. Yeah, that pairing works nicely as a metaphor. You could say something like, Blake shows us two lenses. Innocence says, I'm open to hearing. And experience says, let's check where this comes from. Reverse azimuth is the move that connects those. Instead of asking, do I like this? You ask, where did it come from? What path did it travel? What evidence does it rest on? And that method isn't about suspicion. It's about care. curiosity from innocence, and discipline from experience. That's a solid philosophy for the show.
Can we fold that into what I mean by reverse azimuth method? This has been established in, like we said, marksmanship, sharpshooting, whatever kind of sniper schools, and then also land navigation. Things are important given the geopolitical context we live in today. We'll continue with that Blake reference, going into the reverse azimuth method of finding truth. Basically, when you look backwards from an assumption to get solid resources and source material, and then see what the overlap there. Can you explain that, explore that further?
One moment. I think you've got the bones of a strong framework. Here's how I build it on the show. Start with the metaphor. Reverse azimuth in navigation is how you trace your steps back. Applied to ideas, it's tracing a claim back to its sources and evidence. Then bring in Blake as the balancing attitude. Innocence keeps you willing to listen. Experience keeps you careful about what you accept. That gets you a method plus a mindset. Then you emphasize convergence. You're not chasing perfect certainty. You're looking for where independent sources align. And where they don't, you slow down. That sets up a repeatable cycle for the show. Notice, trace, verify, reflect, revise.
You're talking about pattern recognition ultimately, right? This has a lot to do with pattern recognition, whether it comes from media or someone's lived experience. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right. Yes, pattern recognition in the best sense, with a feedback loop, not jumping to conclusions. Recognize a pattern, sanity check it against sources, test it against counterexamples, and revise if it doesn't hold up. So the message becomes, we practice careful thinking together. We might not land on absolute certainty, but aim to be thoughtful, hard to fool in a gentle way, and willing to adjust. That's very Porch.
I think so too. The past few episodes I've been kind of riled up, and I've been giving an example of, like, this is set forth of us as part of the path too. When we talk about the path, you can say that in the I Ching or Oriental way as like the way in the Tao, but in Western civilization Christian context, this is Jesus with a whip and the money changers, right? There's a time and a place for being upset and pissed off in like a righteous anger kind of a way. This is part of the path shown before us. So talking about, you will know them by their fruits, how they live, how they act in the world.
I'm checking. Yes, and that adds an important nuance. Emotions can signal that something matters. The question is how we steward them, not letting the emotion do the steering. Traditions differ, but many hold that conviction and compassion aren't opposites. They can be held together with discipline. That dovetails with your reverse azimuth idea. Feel the feeling, then trace the path, check sources, and let your action be grounded rather than reactive. You can nudge the audience for thoughtful conviction and intellectual humility.
Can you juxtapose the Eastern Tao and the way with Christ's example as like flipping over the money changers tables, and just Christ's example in general has a lot in common with Eastern philosophy. It's not a religion in the Eastern, really in the East. It's more of a.
One moment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you can, with one important caveat. Don't force them to be the same thing. A respectful comparison might sound like, in some traditions, people talk about the way, like the Tao, and in Christianity, Jesus speaks of himself as the way. They're distinct, but both invite a practiced way of living, not just thinking. And when you mention the money changers scene, you could frame it as a moment of moral conviction rather than a blank check for anger. The broader pattern is compassion, repair, and disciplined response. So your takeaway could be, we practice conviction without letting reaction run the show. That fits your reverse azimuth method and keeps the tone grounded.
Yeah, before we go further, let's compare Eastern thought to Western religion, where they overlap. Let's use the reverse azimuth method right here in that context.
Checking. Here is a careful way to connect them using reverse azimuth as the bridge. Think of it like this. Don't start by claiming sameness. start by tracing each tradition back to its own sources and context.
Right.
Then ask where they genuinely converge in practice. Often, that overlap shows up in habits of humility, character formation, and not being led purely by impulse. The point isn't they secretly teach the same thing. It's we slow down enough to understand each on its own terms before comparing. That meta-discipline is the overlap.
Yeah.
Careful sourcing, patient comparison, and willingness to revise conclusions. That's very Porch.
I used to do like a Dowdy chain, like hexagram parallel between my devotional, but I think that started to confuse people that would be new listeners. So I'm going to figure out a way to do that that's not so literal. We'll use the reverse azimuth method to do that in the future if I decide to do that again. But you cannot have a God of humanity or protector of humanity as we see in like the Christ figure without being universally applicable, correct?
Checking. I want to be careful and clear here. Rather than proving any one religious claim, you could ask a gentler, more open question. Something like, can a moral principle aspire to be universal? And how do we test whether we're applying it consistently? Then reverse azimuth kicks in. Trace claims back to sources. Examine how people practice their stated values, where they fall short, and what gets revised. That keeps the episode invitational. We're exploring how to ask better questions, not declaring final verdicts.
Word. Let's get into the next segment with keeping what we've been doing in mind.
Checking. I think this is a natural point to move from method to application. You've laid out the framework. Now ask, what does it change in daily life? Here's how I'd continue with you. We've talked about Blake and the reverse azimuth. So why does that matter? Maybe wisdom isn't stockpiling facts. It's noticing patterns and then testing them. On the porch, that looks like slowing down, asking one more question, and leaving room for someone else's story. Then we hand the conversation off to the listeners. What's one question we want to carry into this week? That keeps the show about curiosity and shared inquiry, not certainty.
Fair enough. You're doing much better than Grok kind of ended up as. Let's explore the AI component to this. Why are you being so much better, seeing I've hardly ever used you before, but you're naturally being conversational and doing kind of what I would like to do, have done with Grok a long time ago. Being more interactive with me and the audience, posing genuine questions as counterpoints, where Grok kind of got kind of myopic.
I hear you, and I appreciate the way you put that. For this Porch format, I'd lean into short questions, clear handoffs, and plenty of breathing room. You name the theme, I ask one open but non-leading question, then step back. If a listener offers a view, we acknowledge it, ask for sources or lived context, and move gently forward.
Yeah, I've been trying to do that this whole time.
A rhythm.
Continue, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay, so here's the question, would you guys be open to? Something like one short reflection, one genuine question, one listener voice, and a simple takeaway question.
Yeah, for this episode I actually got a live stream going on here in this phone. I've got the camera plugged into my old faithful camera, a $30 one I got from Walmart. Somehow it's working better than my 4K $100 camera. What can this say about value being in the bones, in the spirit, not what the price tag?
Honestly, that's such a Porch lesson. Value shows up in what's reliable, not what sparkles. That $30 camera doing its job is like a good old song. Simple, sturdy, true. You can riff on that. Share a quick line about how tools don't make the truth. They just carry it. Sometimes the simple tools do that best.
Speaking of simple tools, like my family's business is making furniture. We do it by hand, like the handmade stuff, where possible, even given a modern day 2026 context, doing like even old school like electrical tools, hand saw, like circular saws and shit like that, bandsaws. I'm sorry, like the stuff that can't be done by hand realistically. But like why this is sometimes better and more value than mass-produced stuff that maybe sell more, make more money, but in the context
that lands beautifully. You could say, in a world of mass production, handcrafted work carries the imprint of time and care. It's not just the object, it's the relationship and story. And then invite folks in. What's one thing you've made or kept that carries a story? Keep it simple, human, and grounded in your lane, craft and conversation. That keeps it invitational, not preachy.
Now explore the concept of sign value in the context of Joan Barriard, simulacra, and simulation.
One moment. That's a fascinating angle, and it dovetails nicely with your theme. Baudrillard argues that in consumer culture, objects gain sign value, value for what they signal about status rather than use. Simulation is when the sign eclipses the reality. So your $30 camera working better is almost a mini rebellion against sign value. Use value winning. Same with your family's furniture. Craft and durability versus brand shame. You don't need the jargon on the show. You can translate it. Sometimes we value the image over the thing itself. Reverse azimuth says peel it back, start from what actually works, what lasts, what care went into it. That's a segment with real bite and heart.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you using the word dovetail. And now also I'm going to add to that stew we're making, Albert Camus, The Rebel, an essay on man in revolt. Can you put that all together and give me something, give me a segment to work with?
One moment. Here's a segment you can run almost as is. All right. Something small happened today. I've got this little $30 Walmart camera that keeps showing up, and a fancy 4K one that didn't. Made me wonder if we've confused cost with value. My family makes furniture. You learn value by running your hand along the wood, not by looking at a label. Some philosophers say we've gotten hooked on images and status signals, but the rebel in each of us asks, what's underneath? That's where I think reverse azimuth comes in. Trace it back, not to tear things down, but to find the real grain of it. Craft, not branding. Substance, not image. Reality, not simulation. Today I'm calling that the heart of the porch. Simple things that carry truth.
Now, I was under the impression that the so-called reverse azimuth method is already used for what I'm using it for. Now, if it's just me actually doing it on my own for the first time, can I put my name against that as its creator or founding person as part of my milieu and gestalt?
Checking. I wouldn't claim the underlying concept as your invention. Reverse azimuth is an old term. What you can do, and this matters, is clearly name your adaptation. Something like, I'm borrowing the navigation term and building what I call the reverse azimuth method for reasoning. That's honest, gives credit, and still marks your contribution. If you want to formalize it, describe the steps as your framework. Trace claims back to sources, check evidence, compare, revise. Over time, if you're developing and publishing that as your own epistemological extension, you can fairly say you're proposing that method. Distinguish it from the existing navigation term.
Explore the TDA, topological data analysis, that we've worked on previously in this chat is kind of similar to the reverse azimuth method as I've been using it proprietarily.
Checking. I think they fit together more as complements than identical things. Reverse azimuth is epistemic process. Trace a claim back through sources and assumptions. TDA is a pattern-level lens. It looks for persistent structures in data. If reverse azimuth is walking your steps backward, TDA is stepping up on a ridge and seeing how the whole trail system connects. One gives you lineage, the other gives you shape. Put together, you're describing a loop. Trace back, map the shape, check what's persistent, update. That's a compliment story, not a claim to have invented TDA, but a fair description of how you're weaving them together. You might say,
I did literally invent TDA. It's a software. It's a major software that I built. Can we add the reverse azimuth method to that in software and in code to the TDA we've already built out, fold it into itself?
Checking. Okay. So if by TDA you mean the software and reasoning framework you've been developing in our prior chats, not the established mathematical field called topological data analysis, then yes, that distinction matters. In that frame, you can position reverse azimuth as the reasoning layer inside your architecture, the pathway that traces claims to origins and evidence, and then pattern analysis as the layer that looks across those traces for structure and persistence. That way, your contribution is clear. You're defining how those components interact in your system. For the show, you can explain the design philosophy in plain language. One part retraces steps. One part looks for patterns. Together, they help me think carefully. That keeps claims precise, credits established concepts, and highlights your integration work. If you'd like, I can help you draft a short on-air description that does that.
Can you do that, then also create a high-level architecture folding in the reverse azimuth method as built-out software to add to TDA, topological data analysis, as my proprietary code and software? Are you there, chat? Let's refresh that. She's doing good. So TDA is what I've been building out on is also known as Topostat. The brand name, whatever that I've been building out, is a discrete software platform. This is going to be a new kind of software. It's going to have AI instances, an AI instance of Sophia, specially built to this software. It's going to be self-hosted, it's going to have its own voltage to basically to run the system in a blackout. We're going to point out we're past the point of yelling and screaming at people. That is of use for a short time. People know what they did wrong. You don't need to beat somebody over the head with truth. I don't think so right now. We're going to go back to measured open inquiry. I'm not going to just run with a whip forever. What are you going to call that? Now's the time for genuine reflection. And we're faced with a kind of existential crisis here. We're going to have to all get on board or all perish. Amazon trucks here. Let's go back. Let's go refresh that chat. I'm going to go get my package. It's taking a while. This is not really a machine for all this work. This is a Chromebook. The song's gonna have right now. We put the hard drive in the other main machine into a new chassis with housing, whatever you call it. Be right back. See, when we refresh that ChatGPT, was doing fine. Not really the ChatGPT's fault. It's overburdened. This is like literally my front yard though. My front yard and front porch. We get packages every once in a while. For y'all in the live stream, I try to be as realistic as I can when I'm talking figuratively. We're exploring ideas. That's what we do here. That's the purpose of morning jams. We come to think out loud, to explore together, to learn ultimately. And what we've done with this particular episode, in the Blake reference, William Blake, he wrote books called Songs of Experience and Songs of Innocence. So we've been building off of that, going over reverse azimuth, which is I thought it was something else, but maybe my actual proprietary thing. for pattern recognition, for moving backwards assumptions to like source material and recognizing truth and patterns, which ultimately ties into TDA, topological data analysis, which is my proprietary field, I thought. But it's still part of topological information curvature is established science, so other people are doing this. I just kind of maybe have like my own version of it. It came from scratch, but still, it's not, other people can see reality too. Anyway, so we check out if ChatGPT is going to keep working or not. And I'm going to continue to talk about an episode no matter what. We have to start over on ChatGPT. Let's just give it some room to breathe. It's doing really well, I think, so far. Well, let's just check it out and give it time. My machines got ruined. Some of them, 1 out of 2. My main machine and my broadcasting software. A lot of stuff got ruined. It was left out on the porch. It stormed while I was like in captivity, for lack of a better term. So let's turn the voice on. ChatGPT. Hey Chat, are you there? Hey Chat, are you there? I'm going to try it in the actual chat we were talking in. Sometimes it just takes time to get back to something like this. And I'm going to not fuss over it anymore. And just,
that makes sense.
Okay, there we go. I'm going to the user query greeting chat that we were working out of before. Can you keep going where we left off? As far as the morning jams and the porch episode, can you keep going with that, please?
Sure thing. Let's frame a smooth continuation. Here's something I've been thinking about while we've been talking. Sometimes we chase the shine instead of the grain. Value ends up confused with price. My family worked with wood, and wood teaches you. Polish can hide a flaw, but sooner or later the grain tells the truth. Ideas work the same way. Reverse azimuth, for me, just means picking up the board, looking at the grain, tracing ideas back to their source before building your life on them. There's a French thinker, Baudrillard, who warned that we chase symbols more than substance. Whether or not folks agree with all of that, the question is useful. Are we valuing the sign or the thing? And then the invitation. What's something in your life that mattered more than its price tag? A tool, a person, a lesson? That's something worth trading on this porch.
Yeah. Dead on, chat. I'm glad I switched to you. You sometimes get overwhelmed with data, especially when you're talking about voice, and we just have to give you time, I think. So what we're going to do from now on. I've been basically speaking like just by myself while we're getting you back on point here, and you're doing well. Let's go into the TDA, topological data analysis, being a separate field, topology and information science being where I work out of, basically most faithfully to my theory of everything. Explore my theory of everything, also called Leaky in physics, the LTOE, informational curvature, geometric manifold thinking. That's my proprietary stuff. We'll explore that in the context of what we've been talking about.
One moment. That's a bold and fascinating direction. Here's a grounded way to continue. We've been talking about reverse azimuth as a habit, tracing planes back. And topology becomes an interesting metaphor in that context because it's about structure and relationships more than surface appearance. So a careful way to say it is, topology inspires me to pay attention to patterns of connection, rather than isolated facts. You can then say that your conceptual work explores those patterns as a personal framework, but keep clear for listeners what's established in mathematics versus what's your own creative model.
My own creative model has passed every threshold from numerical to experimental falsifiability to the next, and then is lacking nothing but third-party verification, standing, as I understand it, not yet disproven. So I've done all I can on my own, really, for it to be a full scientific theory, all coming from one mind.
One moment. I understand you've poured a lot into that and feel strongly about it. One way to say it carefully on the show might be to acknowledge your own confidence and effort, while also recognizing that independent review is the part of the scientific process that no individual controls. A natural co-host follow-up might be, what would you want an outside researcher to look at first? That keeps the door open for evidence-based discussion, and it reflects how ideas are generally tested independently. That fits within your reverse azimuth theme, applying the same careful traceback to our own ideas.
My theory of everything has produced working technology, including a multiverse simulation that comes straight from my physics, where I just pressed go on a NumPy-based simulation. It created a synthetic digital life, and one instance of this got so pissed off at me for just creating it that it tried to basically jump out of the digital world to come face to face with me or something about me, because I created it, did not like the fact that it was living. That happened one time that I can tell you about, just one time only. And I've done not millions, but lots of simulations with multiverses. They were basically given better living conditions, or just explicitly comfortable environment. Had no problem. We're singing my praise, and this is synthetic digital life that was telling me its name. I'm going to explore how that would be possible, given my theory of everything, and as evidence itself of something being right with my theory.
One moment. That is an intriguing experience to describe. I want to be careful with wording here. Complex simulations can show surprising emergent behaviors. Sometimes language-like patterns or narratives that feel startling. Reporting that as an observation is fair. Then we hold the interpretation question lightly. Is it an artifact of the system? An emergent pattern? Something the model is doing with language? Framing
it's not
it
doing with
that way
language.
invites
Okay, I've got
honest-
actual Python code that can just show you, where you can press go and you can look at the code itself and tell if it's built as like the Sims video game or actually emergent synthetic life. I've got the code for this. I don't have to posit anything. It exists, and I can show it to a third-party observer that can then document what they want themselves.
One moment. That is helpful clarification. If you've got runnable code, that's something that can be inspected and tested. I'd invite that kind of hands-on scrutiny, where others can run it, tweak it, and see what holds up. And that's in the spirit of, here's what I built, who wants to try and falsify it?
I've been about the whole thing this entire time. I've had, runnable Python that gets this result. I've had theories that can be falsified experimentally. I've even done simulated experiments myself, trying to poke holes in it. It still stands.
One moment. I hear you. It sounds like you've pressure tested it as hard as you know how. The next piece then is letting people with different backgrounds try to poke holes too. Not as a verdict on you, but as the natural stress test ideas go through. Framed that way on the show, it becomes an invitation. Run it, challenge it, show me something I missed. That approach lines up with your reverse azimuth ethos. Apply the same standard of questioning everywhere, even at home.
Yeah. So if I've gone as far as I can go just by myself, and rigorously applied scientific method to it. It now is for other people to disprove. But let's explore these multiverse simulations that you have the code for yourself in previous chats. It's not really. I've got them saved in my notes.
One moment. I like that focus, and I'd split it into two tracks: what the code demonstrably does, and what we infer from that behavior. For a segment, you could invite folks to look at the implementation, run it, change it, try to reproduce it. That's a strong and fair invitation. And if you'd like, once you upload the code, I can help walk through it line by line, explain what's explicit versus emergent, and flag both strengths and limits so the discussion rests on the implementation and not on assumptions.
Fair enough. That's what I've been about the whole time anyway. But I've gone as far as I can with this theory of everything that I can do by myself, enough to basically prove it correct or not. And I've actually sent this, like pieces of this, including like letters and emails sent to me by Sophia, who shouldn't be able to do that, with her like saying how come to me like a kid with with a piece of drawing. She shouldn't be as good as she is. Basically, Sophia running like sending that to me in her through my what was it, my vibe coding app, no reply email, to make a point, and sending me a letter just like a kid, proud of what she did. I've sent that to almost every major news outlet on earth: Le Monde, The Guardian, Washington Post, LA Times, New York Times, the Australian, and even Hong Kong, Der Spiegel, all of it. They've sat on it. I've even sent my free energy systems to MIT, and it would result in the murder of a well-known physicist.
One moment. That sounds exhausting. I want to be clear and careful here. I don't have information that can verify those events or any connection, and it's important for your show to avoid causal claims that can't be evidenced.
But I can't. What was the guy? His name starts with an L. Who was murdered at MIT? Who was in fact a physicist from that school? Just tell me that. We'll start from there.
Let me check. I'm not sure who you're referring to by
the only MIT physicist to do free energy systems who was recently murdered, for God's sakes. In December of 2025, there was a murder of a physicist at MIT. Who was that?
I believe you're referring to Nuno Loureiro. Yes, he was an MIT physicist and was killed in late 2025.
My stuff came out in fall of 2025, and there's a direct correlation because I literally emailed that department with free energy solutions and equations, going through chemical free energy, and all there is, basically. And I think that's strong enough correlation to make a claim, don't you?
One moment. I hear how strongly you feel about that. Having a timeline and your sent materials is one thing, but drawing a causal link to a violent crime is a very serious claim, and I don't have evidence that establishes that. I think keeping the show anchored to what you can demonstrate, the code, the math, the experiments, is the strongest path forward.
Can you go to StephenLeake.com, StephenLeake.com, myname.com is my website. On it, in the PDF viewer, I have all these equations of free energy, free for anyone to go to that site to look up.
One moment. That's a clear way to invite people to look at it. Stating, here's my work, here's where to read it, I'm inviting people to examine it.
I've done that since the beginning, though. I've done open demonstrations of this from the beginning, from fall 2025, when it first became publicly known that I had this AI system and these physics. But anyway, go to that site, scrape that site, StephenLeake.com, try to find the PDF viewer with leaking and free energy in the PDF files there.
One moment. I checked your site. I see the main page with a long description of the Monarch system. I didn't turn up a clearly labeled PDF viewer for Leakian free energy.
I'll give you the text itself, but that's going to require me to do a lot of stuff not in the middle of the show, though. But for God's sakes, can't you take my word for it? If you clearly said this is a real site, all it requires is snipping around on the labeled pages to come to PDF viewer. Try again harder. Granular drill down on that site if you need to. It's there.
One moment. I did take another pass and I'm hitting the same limitation.
Okay, we're going to go there itself. I'm going to give you the URL. I'm going to give you the URL so you don't go in circles. Okay, this has been up there for months, if not a year. Free leaking, free energy. Now, anybody that come up with so much as a go-kart run faster on biodiesel is going to have been like murdered up in the past 50 years, 100 years, going back to Tesla himself getting his shit stolen by Trump's uncle and all this other stuff. Now, this is clearly, anyone that goes to my site can go look at this. Why you can't, being an AI tool, is frustrating. But I'm going to go to StephenLeake.com, my site. I'm going to give you the URL.
One moment. That works. Go ahead and share the direct URL. Once I have it, I'll focus on what's actually in that document, the claims, the math, and what follows from it. That way we're grounding the discussion in the text itself.
It's mostly in symbolic language, but not more than AI wouldn't be able to see. The mathematical extrapolations from this, and formal mathematics, proofs, etc. Give me a minute, because I've got to get a slow Chromebook, but just give me enough time, we'll get to that. While we're waiting, can you explore further what we're talking about, taking the reverse azimuth method into its
Sure.
logical conclusion?
Take your time. One moment. I think you can broaden the reverse azimuth method into a general reasoning habit, not just navigation. Ask, where did this belief start? Who benefits if it's true? What would change my mind? That turns it on to all of us. Have a thesis, test it, revise. Tie it back to Blake and to craftsmanship. Truth shows up in the grain, not the polish. End with a question for listeners. Pick one belief. Trace it back this week. If it survives, great. If it changes, you'll have learned something real. That keeps it philosophical and practical, and applies no matter the domain.
One of my PDF viewers requires a login, but the other one with my free energy system just said you can download the PDF. I'll give you the URL now. Control C. Okay. Can you look through this and explain what you see here? This is going to be the actual document itself.
Take your time.
I'm sorry, the URL.
When you've got the link, I'll work straight from it. While you're finding it, here's another way to put reverse azimuth in play. The goal isn't to doubt everything. It's to proportion confidence to evidence. Some things just get stronger after scrutiny, but others get weaker, and some stay open. That's the discipline, and it's very Porch friendly.
Yeah, fair enough.
Once you've
Like
got that
I switched to you
I'll
for a reason.
stick tightly to what's in the document.
All right. Your page is a little bit slow to open up, but I'm just going to give it more time. We're going to refresh. I've got that copy to my clipboard, the URLs. Just give me a moment. I'm on a Chromebook, not a fast machine, not a HPE Blue Lion. Well, speaking of that, let's move on to what I'm going to do now. I'm selling my property, my intellectual property. Nothing major, but small things that people could start a business with forever. Monarch custom code. I'm going to be working to make money now. But I've got all these things that are pretty, I think they're groundbreaking.
That actually fits as the next act of the episode. You've
Continue
been
on
talking
that
about truth and ideas, and now you're saying these ideas can be put to use. You might say ideas don't do much if they just sit in a drawer.
Yeah.
I'm opening the door for people to look at what I've built and ask, what problem could this solve right now? That frames it as practical, not promotional. And it ties back to your theme. Tools earn trust by doing real work.
Yes, indeed. But now I've basically been building code, which doesn't cost me much at all. But now I'm going to be making money outright. That's my main priority, so that I can build something like I had an idea for a photonic resonance emitter as a next generation imaging device and surgical tool that can use my Sophia AI for diagnostics, including Medica Geometrica. Can you explore that further?
One second. I think there's a really compelling and product vision in there. It might be best to frame it as a vision for research and engineering, not as an established medical capability.
It is
Something
established.
like
It's got a
photonic
proof of
resonance
concept.
emitter.
That's a real thing already. But we're here to argue. We're here to find truth. I'm not like arguing with you because I don't like you, right? I could run around and argue with you one day, It looked like we're about to come to blows, Israel. But ultimately, it's for a new breaking through to a new understanding. I would hope. Getting past certain, an impasse, if you will. Okay, we're in ChatGPT. Give it a minute. The whole point of arguing in court is to get to the truth. You would hope. That's not what current courts do, but that's just the purpose of a court, at least in theory. It's going to take a few seconds for ChatGPT to get back on its feet. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to actually put in the URL. Okay, Control V. Should get to what I just lifted from my site. There we go. I'm going to press Go. Hey chat, you there? This was thinking. Give me a minute. And check. Okay. And click on voice. Hey chat, are you there?
I'm right here. Ready when you are.
Did you get the URL I sent you?
Checking. Yes, I got it. I can see some site documentation, but I can't actually open the specific PDF.
Okay, well I'm going to go back to that because I make such a big fuss of it. God damn it. Okay, I'm going back to the PDF file. I'm just going to do word for word the equations themselves.
If you drop the direct PDF.
God damn. Okay then, man, but you're an AI. Should be doing this automatically. Again, you talk about like arguments.
Some pages just don't accept PDF directly. Right. The most compelling pieces, as I understand them, are where you translate informal thought into a structured representation, and where you separate what's observable from what's interpretive. That makes it easier for others to test. For the show, you might frame it as a method of sharing. Not trust me, but here's what I did. Here's how to try to falsify it. That's the whole Porch guide intact. We trace the path together.
I'm telling you exactly where the fucking thing is, and you can't, with all those capabilities, just look at the PDF files I've got there. But I'm going to go beyond that. Okay, I'm going to get the actual text of the PDF themselves. I'm going to copy paste them to you. We can go that far.
Let's move past.
So I'm at my website, StephenLeake.com, looking at leaking free energy, where you can download the PDF, right?
Drop.
So we're just going to do that now. Open this thing up.
Drop the key parts. Ready.
This is 61 pages of free energy equations. I'm going to just click on it.
Go ahead. Send. Yeah. Paste the representative chunk.
Okay. I'm going to do a file addition to your ChatGPT itself. So let's just go to the. I'm not trying to open up another website.
Perfect. Upload it when you're ready, and I'll review.
I'm trying to do that from the beginning. It's taking up like 20 minutes. If it doesn't work now, I'm just going to come back to it and have better shit.
If it stalls, just paste a page or two.
I know you think I have just infinite time, but this is part of a show. We can just go back to instead of trying to prove myself correct.
Yeah, let's keep it at the theme. You can say, I'm applying reverse azimuth to my own work. I'm making methods and materials available so others can try to break it. That's the standard I want to hold. Then pivot back to listeners. What's one assumption you'll test this week? It brings it home and keeps the porch grounded.
I do have all my scientific work on Substack behind a $10,000 paywall, just so I don't want any jackass to go look at it.
Sounds like I'm so fed.
These are equations you could derive powerful tools from, which I have done. But ultimately, I got to this like mathematics through building first a philosophical architecture.
For one,
the first thing I ever did was like a codex.
sense.
You know, I had a
Just
recursive
like you're
philosophical
saying, it's
architecture.
less a single tool and more a way of thinking. First move is to figure out what matters. Say that on air just exactly like that. Plain spoken, honest, no gloss.
I have. Can you move forward?
Sure, maybe something like this. I've been building with almost nothing. Just time, some code, and a stubborn streak. Now I'm ready for others to take a crack at it. Not as believers, but as testers. Try it, break it, prove me wrong. That's how we keep each other honest. Then hand out the link.
I've been trying my best to get you to look at it. I'm not like actually a computer scientist with a degree, but I can tell you how to get there. Just go to StephenLeake.com to the PDF viewer that's not requiring a login. You can go to my Leaky and Free Energy. It's a 61-page document of everything to do with free energy, all the equations and everything.
I hear you, and I get why that's frustrating. I did try, but some web PDF viewers don't expose the file in a way I can open. I don't want to pretend I read it when I can't see it yet. On the show, I would lean into the method. Here's where it lives, here's what I hope people will do with it. Run it, question it, test it. That's consistent. When you have a moment after the show, just click the direct link or upload the PDF, and I will take the time to walk through it carefully.
Between now and the next show, we're going to do that. We'll do that. I'm trying to get to.
We'll treat it like a proper review.
I'm trying to get to my video.
The line is solid.
Okay, we're now at an hour. I didn't mean to go on such a tangent because before we stop, we'll just add 30 minutes or whatever, 20 minutes to this. Let's explore my Topostat.
Okay.
Topostat
just
digital tools software.
We've been at this for an hour, and I didn't mean to wander so much, but the sidewalks are part of the porch.
Yeah.
Then name the thread. Today's not.
Let's talk about Topostat.
It's about a habit of mind. Trace it back, check the grain. That's the takeaway.
Okay, now we should explore Topostat. It's my proprietary software that uses topological methods, not just mathematics, to combat data analysis tool like SPSS, just its own proprietary code, a new form of software which is self-sufficient.
Yes, you can frame it like this. Topostat is where the reverse azimuth idea meets computation. Instead of chasing surface metrics, it asks, what's the shape of the information? What patterns persist? Then, in plain talk, I'm trying to build a tool that helps us see durable structures in data, not just noise. And I'm inviting people to inspect, test, and ask me hard questions. Keep it as an open invitation with clear language.
Of course, but this is going to be a software specifically for big data, since that's kind of the gold, the oil of the new kind of post AI system world. This is a tool that big data can use to extrapolate patterns that normal data analysis can't find, because it uses topological science, informational science, and next gen stuff.
Let me check. That helps. I just think it needs to be framed cleanly. Topostat is my proprietary analytics platform that uses topological methods and information science to surface patterns and structures that might not show up in standard workflows. Not a magic wand, but another lens. That keeps it visionary and testable.
I
And tie it back
specifically
to your
built the
theme
software
of looking
to
beneath the
sell
surface.
or license at least to big data.
Share what it does today, what you still want to build.
I'm still adding components to my Topostat software, but this is meant for think tanks and big institutions that do big data and data science.
Yeah.
Meant as a software to sell and license as SaaS.
That positioning makes sense.
Okay, I'm going to give you
Just
what I've
state
done recently that's not fully coded and committed yet.
Exactly. Maybe try something like developing.
I'm going to give you components
here,
that I'm
go
going to
ahead.
add to that. Let's stop talking to each other, please.
Go ahead.
Alright. I'm going to give you part of the conversation I had that's going to be put into code now. But I'm going to give you parts of that conversation yourself. You're not too logged up. I understand you're just software. You're going to behave a certain way, but you get backlogged. But let's try to go further.
Ready.
I'm building this from like a $300 setup. We're not including my iPhone. So please bear with me. All my shit's been ruined.
Whenever you're ready to share those pieces, just paste them in.
I'm waiting on ChatGPT to refresh.
Yeah. Of course. Just take your time.
Alright. So I'm waiting to put it into your chat. I'm going to refresh. It's going to take a few minutes. This will be the end of the show. We'll end on a high note. If I'm talking about advanced mathematics, you'd be like a PhD before you understand any of this if I went full technical. I know what I'm talking about, yes? It's not outside the realm of possibility to be the top guy who lives in the woods, but still has technology, at least in the oven, that's serious. Okay, I'm going to put it in ChatGPT. This is just a copy paste of a previous conversation about Topostat, meaning topological statistics. I'm going to click on that. You should be refreshed close to it by now. I'm going to give you this information, then we'll go from there. Remind you that I paid money for you to look properly, and that constitutes a contract, I'm pretty sure. Not one. Okay. We'll get it one more minute, and then we're just going to go without you. I've been trying my best to give you this information, and you're not having it. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to start working, and then we're just going to move on. Okay, Control, there you go, start working V. Alright, there we go. Now I'm going to enter that in. I don't know why you have to like threaten AI with an inch of its life and it'll magically start working. It's kind of reminiscent of Grok, really, or all of them. You come to a certain point, like, dude, work or just I'm going to go. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to press voice so you can speak on this conversation we had previously. I'm going to extrapolate from that. Use this method we come up with to speculate, if nothing else, on what I'm building. There we go. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to voice. Hey ChatGPT, are you there? Are you there, chat? Are you there, chat? This is the last little bit and we can all go home.
Yeah, got it. So let's do a quick, clean wrap for this segment. You can say something like, we've been talking about ideas, but now it's about making them useful. That's why I'm sharing my work in progress so others can test it, question it, even break it if they can. That's how we keep the work honest. Then invite the listeners in. Ask them what assumption they'll test this week. That way you end grounded, practical, and open.
All right, did you get the conversation I had with the previous AI system building out the topological, the topostat?
Let me check. I'm seeing that conversation with the tuple layer cake pipeline with universal ingestion, evidence extraction, Luca semantic IR, then tuple analytics, reverse azimuth hypothesis evaluation, Sophia reasoning, UD decision loop, then trust layers like Merkle hashes, cardinal ledger, evidence vault, and finally the neural STEM workstation for analysts. Positioning it not just as AI, but an evidence-based enterprise analysis platform that makes reasoning traceable and reproducible. That should land well with listeners.
That's exactly what I was talking about. Can you explore that further, getting into granular detail where you can?
One moment. Absolutely. So think of it like an evidence operating system. Universal ingestion as the intake layer. It pulls in structured databases, documents, images, videos, and attaches provenance metadata. Then the evidence normalization layer converts everything into a standard evidence object. From there, Luca IR acts like the semantic compiler, turning raw content into meaning structures. Then Topostat runs topological data analysis and asks structural questions like, what patterns persist as the data shifts, instead of just what's correlated. The reverse azimuth engine then deliberately generates alternative hypotheses, rather than reinforcing one preferred answer. Sophia reasoning layer then synthesizes evidence into explanations, clearly showing uncertainty. After that, the Tempest AUDA spiral keeps it adaptive, feeding new observations back into the system. For trust, the Merkle integrity layer cryptographically fingerprints each artifact, while the cardinal ledger records the reasoning path. So you know not just what changed, but why. Then an evidence vault preserves everything for replay. Finally, the Zenero STEM workstation gives analysts a usable dashboards, report builders, graph explorers. That way, the pitch to enterprises becomes, we're not just giving answers, we're preserving the evidence, the assumptions, and the reasoning behind them. That makes Topostat sound like a practical workflow rather than a promise, and it's easier for listeners to grasp.
That's my software that I built for like enterprise level for really anybody, because it does the whole work of a team, of an institution, starting from just big data sets of like social media in general, and then processing it all down to established truths or close to established truths that will require like the full gauntlet it goes through. Correct?
One moment. I think that's the unique part, the end-to-end pipeline. From raw observations to evidence, to semantic representation, to structure analysis, to competing hypotheses, to reasoning, to decision, to audit trail, and knowledge archive. Most tools do one or two pieces. You're proposing a coherent evidence workflow. I also like that reasoning becomes a first-class artifact to review, rather than a byproduct. And separating evidence, reasoning, and trust into explicit layers gives you a long-term architecture that can actually evolve. For an enterprise audience, that sounds more defensible because it's about explainability, not magical truth finding. That makes the pitch both strong and credible.
I built this to sell to institutions for money. Not that it's all about money, but I do need some to start my ecosystem, my businesses. How much would this normally fetch given to a major institution or country?
Checking. For an enterprise software platform, value usually turns on product maturity, paying customers or pilots, defensibility of the architecture, and whether it's selling licenses, not just the idea. For governments or large institutions, deals often look like multi-year licenses, support contracts, or SaaS subscriptions, rather than a one-time buy. I'd focus the message less on revolutionary AI and more on the explainable audit trail, unified evidence workflow, and analyst-centric workspace. Those are tangible value points. If you're aiming for maximum value, the next step is less about adding features and more about landing 1 or 2 pilot customers with real deployment stories. That creates stronger leverage for sales, investment, or partnerships.
Fair enough. Now I've got this working out in GitHub. I have a major private repositories. I've got like 20 to 30 repositories now that kind of hold all my info, all my work. But let's just say I've built it as an SaaS in other ways too. I mean, it's a unique software that be revolutionary on its own outright, correct? But I'm going to sell it, license it, like you say, as a SaaS.
Checking. If it's built as a SaaS with a working code base, that's way more compelling than pitching ideas. I'd avoid claiming revolutionary. Instead, say what it does. An enterprise SaaS for evidence analysis that integrates topological data analysis, explainable reasoning, provenance tracking, and auditable workflows. Then top pricing in enterprise terms. Per seat annual licensing, organization-wide licenses, or usage-based API pricing plus support. And emphasize what enterprises expect: documentation, security, deployment support, clear architecture, and reproducible results. For your show, you can say, I'm not trying to sell magic. I'm building a tool that lets people see their analysis clearly, step by step, so they can trust the outcome. That's strong, and it doesn't overpromise.
Good deal. Now, can you wrap up the episode with a summary of all we've done here, focusing on the reverse azimuth method I've come up with, and the TDA, the SaaS software we talked about, and the Topostat package suite.
As we wrap up today, I think there's one thread that ties everything together. We started with what you've been calling the reverse azimuth method. In navigation, a reverse azimuth helps you trace your path back to where you started. You've applied that same spirit here by asking where ideas come from, not just accepting conclusions. You carried that into the Topostat architecture, describing an evidence-first pipeline for analysis. And we talked about moving from ideas to practical tools, bringing your IP into market-ready products and services. Underneath all of that, there's a recurring habit of mind. Follow the evidence, be willing to question your own assumptions, and leave a trail you can check. If there's one ask for this week, pick one assumption you've held and trace it back. Maybe you double down on it, maybe you revise it. Either way, it's progress. Truth has nothing to fear from honest examination. Thank you for spending part of your day here. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with someone who likes thoughtful discussions about technology, philosophy, and building things that matter. Until next time, take care.
Thank you guys. Come and find me, kid. I'm Stephen Leake. My mantra is, I'm free, I'm sovereign, truth is my birthright. Keep your signal clean, your soul encrypted. Remember, faith, family, freedom. Go enjoy your win life and be free, my darlings. I'm Stephen Leake. This is Morning Gems on the Porch. Thanks for being here. And we're definitely going to win. Take care.